the reality is that everybody's had an agent. Like in order to enroll, everyone was enrolled by someone. Someone is getting paid perpetually for that client. And so you have to remember that this is sales. Now, there are a lot of agents, like there are certain agents who I know that they're friends, even though they're at competitors and stuff, that you never, like they're people that I would never touch their client and be like, hey, you got a client. This was your client walked into my office today, and I'm going to immediately tell them,
send them back.
Hey, this is your agent. You need to, I might even call them for you.
Even more important to understand the plans that are available, because if you, again, I'm going to pick on you now, right? For that same story. Had you known that and had you put them on the, quote unquote, right plan, the plan that is the better fit for them. Again, better, we'll say that here amongst agents, but you're not allowed, we can't say that when we're out in the field talking to members, but had you put them on the better plan, you protect your business. It helps you with retention. You check a lot of boxes.
Like it or not. And so I know there's probably going to be people who listen to this. Oh, you're just stealing people's business. The reality is it's just a part of our business, is that people move from one HMO to another within the same carrier all the time. If you look at like the strategy of United Healthcare, if you look at their strategy, they have 3 HMOs and, 2 chronic plans. And they do this and they do it with the understanding that there's going to be movement. And sometimes people want to move, and they know that agents are going to move them. And I think that what they're thinking is, might as well, if they're going to make a move, might as well have them move internal. Hey everybody, welcome back to Medicare Agent IQ. I am Raul.
And I'm Oscar Ibieta.
And so, man, I was thinking about something to be kind of cool to talk about today, which is lessons learned in the field. So just a little, again, some background if this may be the first time that you've listened or watched our episode. So I used to work for Humana, and I used to do field sales, not like over the phone, but like in person. I used to call it Humana Market Point. And so we were field agents. They had about 30 of us here in San Antonio, and we would do in-home appointments. That was the only way that we were allowed to sell. We couldn't sell over the phone at all. And so I'm a field agent. And then Oscar, after I left there, was the first agent at my agency, and I taught him everything, and it was as a field agent. So we were out in the field. So obviously, like I think now most agents, at least the really good ones, are kind of hybrid, right? They'll do both. It's not just about getting out there. There's some agents that just do it over the phone and they do multiple states. That is not who we are. It's just not kind of been the style, and it's not the style of most of our agents. But I wanted to kind of just talk about some things that I've learned in the field, and the first one's kind of a funny one. It's kind of a dumb thing that happened to me. So there was
telling some stories.
Yeah. There was a day that I was going to an appointment, and I called to the individual when I got there, and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm here, and so I'm trying to find your location." So he's like, "Yeah, just go through this area, go through the gate, and then come on in." And I was like, "Okay, like come on in." He was like, "Yeah, I can tell you're already here. Just come on in." And so I proceed to open the door, and I walk in, and then there's a guy standing there, and he's like, "What are you doing in here?" I was like, "You told me to come in." I was like, "You told me to come in." And I've got like my laptop, and like, I used to carry all like the Humana SOBs and everything. Yeah. And I'm like, just like, obviously no threat, or he should not feel threatened, but he's like yelling at me. He's like, "Get out of here. I'm about to shoot you." And he starts like yelling at me. And I was like, oh man, like, I was like, I didn't even know what to say. I'm like, I'm leaving. He was like, "Now get out. What are you even doing in here?" I was like, "You said come in." And so like I walk out of the house and I get out to the front gate and I call the guy again. I was like, you said to come in. He's like, yeah, I'm upstairs. I was like, oh man.
Was this like a duplex or?
Yeah, so like this was like in like kind of like the more older, more established area of San Antonio. So it was a single family home that was made into multi-family home. So it was like the downstairs was like, so that the downstairs, it looked like the house. Mm-hmm. Like, so I had no idea that there was an upstairs and that's where he was. So afterwards he's like, no, you can see over there. And you could tell cause it looked like a single family home, turns out.
Right.
It's a multi-family home. Never give me any indication of that when we were talking. Never said, hey, come on upstairs. He was like, just come on in. And so what did I learn from
What's
from
the
that?
lesson there?
The lesson there is like, before you walk into somebody's house, like knock hard, make sure that you're in the right place, because man, it could have been a real ugly situation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, that just a funny story that happened to me, but there's always lessons to be learned. There's always things that we can kind of figure out from within that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, something comes to mind. I've got a story or a lesson that I've learned, in my time as an agent, as a field agent. Not as funny as yours, but really it's just it's a good lesson that I learned early on, and honestly I was reminded of that lesson, or I kind of relearned that lesson a few years later. But really it's returning phone calls, and there's I can think of a couple of different times. There was one particular time where my phone was, and back then, I'll be completely honest, right? When I got into the business, I'm an independent agent. I'm my own boss. I want to, so I can make my own schedule, and I'm in complete control of that. And so there were days where I decided that I just was done working at 2:00, or, I just wasn't going to work on a Friday. This particular story, I got a phone call come in on a Friday from an unknown number. It wasn't a number that I had saved in my phone, and didn't answer the call. In my mind, I was kind of mentally done. It was already the weekend.
Just for clarification purposes here, because I'm trying to figure out how much I should judge you here. When you say it was an unknown number, was it one of those that comes up as unknown with no phone number, or was it a phone number that you did not recognize?
It was a phone number I didn't recognize. Yeah, okay. Thank you for that. Yeah,
so
that
my
helps
judgment,
with the story here.
My judgment's about to increase right here, so please go ahead.
So it didn't actually say unknown. It was just a phone number that I didn't have saved in my phone number, but there was an actual phone number that was displayed. Again, but it was Friday, and I had just decided that it was already the weekend, and I wasn't going to work until Monday.
Right.
Bad idea, by the way. Don't do that. But I missed this phone call, and I decided that I wasn't going to return the call until Monday. So Monday rolls around, and I return that call. There was no voicemail that was left to me, by the way, but I returned the call, and I just said,
they didn't leave a voicemail?
They didn't leave a voicemail.
Judgment level's going down.
So I returned the call, and I say, hey, this is Oscar, just calling you back. I missed your call on Friday. I'm so sorry. I was gone for the weekend, right? That was the excuse that I was making. And they said, oh, Oscar, thank you so much. I already got it taken care of. I got your phone number from one of my friends. She's on the United Healthcare plan, and I wanted to get on the same plan as her. I have Humana right now, but don't worry about it, Oscar. Thank you so much. I already got it taken care of. I ended up, one of my other friends referred me to somebody who was able to help me. Thank you for calling me back. And innocently, right? Like many times seniors don't understand that this is, we make our living based off of production, kind of off of enrollments, off of enrolling somebody. Many times people just think, oh, well, I got my problem solved. It doesn't really matter who helped me solve that problem, and I got it taken care of. So they were very sweet about it and very nice about it. But in my mind, I'm like, I missed a sale. It was a missed opportunity simply because I did not answer the call, one, or two, return the call in a timely manner. So, and again, this is early on in my career. So this is a point in my career where I'm trying to build this book of business, and I'm trying to grow, and I want to gain, clients, and I'll be honest, calling it a day at the end of the day on Thursday and just deciding that it's the weekend and that I'm not going to answer any phone calls is a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that in this business, if you have to be super successful already in order to shut things down on the weekend. So the way that I look at this is that when we work in sales, there's a reason that we have that freedom and flexibility that comes with the, like I can stroll out of, wake up and stroll into the office or stroll into my cubicle or start working at 10 o'clock. It's because I'm going to work Saturdays. I'm going to work. There's going to be times that I have to field calls, even in the business that we're in today. Like this isn't like a, and for a lot of us, we don't make standard salaries. Like we like a lot of agents who are in this business, we make significantly more, right? Like, but that comes at a price, and that price is sometimes you got to work a little bit more. You got to, take a call at 6:30 on a Friday. You got to, you've got to do that. I think that's a lesson for me. One of the lessons I learned in that story is, Ed, like nowadays, I get so many of these sales calls, and they're like from spoof numbers. I don't call those numbers back. So I wonder if I've missed some opportunity by like.
I think that's the thing too, right? Today, that's what we see is you see all these local phone numbers coming in, and the majority of the time it's this bot or it's some sort of sales call that's coming in, and so we kind of get in a mindset of like, I'm just going to ignore these calls. But me, again, the lesson that I learned there in my story and what I do now is I take that call. So here's what it looks like now. If I decide that I am going to, take that Friday off, or that I'm going to get off a little bit early. If that call comes in, I'm still going to answer it. I'm going to say, hi, this is Oscar. And if it is business that's coming in, if it's something that I can address quickly, then I'll take care of it. Or I might say something like, hey, thank you so much for calling me. I'm actually out of the office already for today, but I would love to help you. Is it okay if we set something up for Monday? And I'd love to chat a little bit more and go over everything. I know you want to make this change, whether we make this change today on Friday or whether we do that on Monday, the plan will still go into effect the first of the month, and we have plenty of time. It's early in the month. We can still get it taken care of. So now, again, that's the lesson that I learned. I take the call.
I might not always tell them, hey, I'm already out of the office. I might not personally say that. I might say, hey, look, I'm kind of wrapped up and I've got appointments back to back for the rest of the day. Would you be okay? Like, are you okay taking care of this on Monday? And if they're like, absolutely not, then I might, try to figure out if there's a way that I can stop what I'm doing and help. Yeah. Because there are people, I was thinking about myself as a consumer, and man, I was thinking about this because like Raul would not be the best salesperson to deal with, Raul. Because like as a consumer, I feel like I have pretty high standards from salespeople, and like I want them to be available. And I was thinking about this is that for myself, I want to get something off my plate while I'm thinking about it. And so, like, just even the other day, there's a guy who is going to be, he does fence staining, and I dealt with him like a year and a half ago, and the guy was fantastic to work with. He did a really good job. And so I reached out to him like about a month and a half ago because it's about time to do it again. And so I reached out to him about staining my fence, and it was a Saturday, and he responded on a Monday at 2. And so I was like, man, it's frustrating because like Monday at 2, I'm working. You're working. Like I don't have time to be dealing with this on a Saturday. I mean, I need to be dealing with it on a Saturday, not when I'm busy working. So then I didn't respond to him. And then I didn't hear from him again for a few days. So finally, I think it was like that next Friday at like 4 o'clock, I remembered again. And I was like, hey, are you able to give me a quote for my fence staining? And there was no response because it was 4 o'clock, but then he responded like the next day. And so I'm going to tell you, this is for all agents out there. If you do business that way, you're leaving money on the table. Yeah. If you can't be bothered by a call on the weekend, it's going to someone else who will. And there's people like I will pick up the phone. I will if you're not helping people, I will answer the call on a Saturday. I will on a Friday. And that guy, so I texted him again this last Saturday, and I was like, hey, dude, I only think of this stuff when I'm home, and I'm home. It's Saturday. Sorry to bother you, but are you able to help me with this? No response. It's crickets. And he probably thought, I'm not going to deal with this. I'll call him in the morning. And this is what happens, I think, for a lot of agents when you have time, like, or not when you have time, when you're in a situation where you have enough business, you're not worrying about it right now, but you're not putting anything in the reserves. You're not focusing on that. Instead, what you're doing is you're focusing on, I'm good right now, so I'm not going to deal with this. But trust me, business goes down, the guy's going to be taking his calls on Saturdays. So I think, like, as an agent, that's another lesson to be learned. Like, it doesn't, like, you don't have to shut down just because it's the weekend. Now, you know me, like, I'm all about, like, it's about family, it's about all those things. But I could take 5 minutes to walk outside and just let them know, like, hey, I'm here with the family right now. Like, especially if it's on a Saturday, I'm here with the family right now. I'm with the kids. But I just wanted you to know, like, I would love to be the person to help you. And I'm super busy right now. And a lot of times people, as soon as you say that, they're like, oh man, I just appreciate you getting back to me. So you're going to call me back next week? Yes, absolutely. Okay. So because what you're doing is you're taking the responsibility off of the consumer and putting it back on yourself. And then you're like, well, I'm too busy on Saturday to have to remember to call them back. Go into your phone and add a calendar note, call this person on Monday. And it takes literally 30 seconds to do, and you are setting yourself apart from the competitor.
Add it to your to-do list. It's that simple, as opposed to not taking that call and then waiting days to get back to them. As a consumer, do you like that? No. You don't want that. You don't like that. But when you're taking the call, it changes the entire dynamic of where that conversation and that appointment, that lead, is going to end up, the end result.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, a lot of times as a consumer, when someone does that to me and I feel like I'm kind of blown off or whatever, my thought is, man, I hope I remember to deal with this before they call me back, because I don't want to use people who aren't excited to have me as a customer. It's like, man, that's kind of, anyway, it sounds terrible. And again, like I say, like, I probably wouldn't want me as a consumer, but I think that there's a lot of people like that, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people that they want to feel served, and they want to. Hey, or did you have something else?
Yeah, I want to throw something else in there. This past Friday, so we just got fiber installed in our neighborhood, in our subdivision. It was AT&T, nice. And so this past Friday, I was heading out at 4:30 to pick up my kids from daycare, and there's these big canopies set out on the side of the street, and it's all the AT&T sales reps just flagging people down on the street. Cool. Yeah, like kind of in the neighborhood, just saying, hey, fiber, we're live, stop and talk to us. We're happy to give you information on, what packages are available here in your subdivision. So I stopped, gave them my information, and the guy was great, and we went on, and I said, hey, I'm on my way to pick up my kids right now, but please reach out to me, let's set something up. And so he gave me a little bit of time. About an hour later, he reached out to me. Mind you, it's 5:30 on Friday at this point, right? He reached out to me and says, hey, Oscar, is now a good time? Want to set something up? And I appreciated that, because again, I'm setting something up. I don't want to be working on my AT&T fiber at my house, during the work day, when I'm at work, when I'm at the office. So I did have time, and he was, and he took the time to deal with me and help me out. But the cool thing is, I really appreciated and liked the way that he handled that with me, that I actually gave him the business for my family's restaurant. And so we're going to be switching the internet over to AT&T with my family's business as well. So the fact that so you mentioned earlier, you're leaving money on the table, if you're not doing these things. This guy was working on a Friday evening, and we texted into Saturday morning, which is when I have some time to be texting. And he not only earned my business for my home, but then it led to another deal for him just because he was willing to do that. Imagine if he just wasn't there. He decided, I don't want to be out here on a Friday afternoon trying to get some new business, some new clients.
Yeah, I feel like there's like, to give an illustration of what this tends to look like in sales is, we start and we're super hungry. So we're going to take those calls, and we get to a point where we're like, we're going to take those calls regardless, right? Like weekends. And even if it's just, hey, I'm sorry, I'm super busy. Let me give you a call on Monday. I'm putting it in my calendar. Does such and such time work for you? Oh, it took me a minute and a half to do, right? So that's how we start. And then a lot of us will come into this place of pride, where we're like, I've worked too hard to be bothered after hours. And then we go into this kind of this, and it's happened to me, where like, I'm just like, man, I don't need to deal with this on weekends. I don't need to deal with this after hours. You get to that point, and then you're in that point for a little while, and then you get to a point where I'm at today, where like, I'm like, man, if you need me, I'm here. Like most of these things don't require a whole lot of mental energy. Most of them you can end up moving to normal business hours. Every once in a while, people just need your support, even after, if you're taking 10 minutes. Now, understand that there are times where like you're with family and you got to put that first. But usually, like in my family, like my wife understands, my kids understand. Like, hold on, I got to make a quick call. It's gonna take me 2-3 minutes, and I'll go and knock out a call. Like you just understand that you have to, like, so if you haven't made it yet, you have to understand that this is part of it. And once you have made it, you have to understand, like, it's okay to still humble yourself, because at the end of the day, what we're hoping to do is help people, right? Yeah. So, hey, let me jump on to another one of these situations, because it kind of had me thinking. So it was a day, also a Friday. These things tend to happen on Friday. So it was like, I was talking to, she called me, and it was actually a referral from one of my really good clients. And so I pulled over, and I remember this vividly because it was like 3:00 on a Friday afternoon, and I was headed home, but instead I pulled over in a neighborhood. The reason I pulled over is because she actually wanted quotes, and it didn't sound like she actually, like, I was trying to be extra helpful because it was a friend of one of my really good clients that I want them to keep referring, because it's not about, like, this particular person. I didn't know what they're going to be, if they're going to be a referrer, right? But the person who referred, they'd sent me a lot of business. And so I was like, well, okay, let me go ahead and do it. And so I pull over the side of the road, and like, I'm like explaining Medicare. She was a Medicare supplement client. I was explaining Medicare supplements, explaining the difference between F and G at the time. And like, I'm going through all of these things. And this was in 2018 or 2019, right around there. Okay. Or actually 2016, 2017. Okay. So we already have ways to enroll people online, right? So, but I continue, and I basically finished the whole conversation. I was like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out to you on Monday, and we're going to go ahead and get you enrolled and get it all taken care of. And she's like, oh, thanks so much. All right. So then I get an email the next morning at around 10:30 in the morning. She's like, don't worry, please go ahead and cancel that appointment. I decided to, thank you so much for the information. I decided to enroll into the plan that you recommended. I just went ahead and called the 800 number. I thought, like, dude, like, that's like to me as a consumer, like, that's the lowest thing you can do to someone is take their time and do that. But I had to look at myself, though, right? Like, whose fault was that? Like, I mean, I did everything. Why not just do the enrollment, take the extra 15 minutes? And I guess in my head, because like this is something like we're talking about what we've learned, right? But like what I learned is that just take care of it. Like, if you like, it's like, I hate to use the analogy of fishing, right? But like, if you've got a fish on the hook, you got to set the hook so what I think I did is I felt like I set the hook, and then I just put it you didn't reel it in. Yeah, I didn't reel it in. I just put it there, and I just let it sit there. I should have just done that, and I chose not to. And I really, like, I was mad at her, but I kind of misdirected that anger. Like, I should have been mad at myself, because realistically, I should have reeled it in. I should have just closed it. It would have taken another 20 minutes. And I was thinking like probably part of why I didn't is because I was wanting to go the extra mile, sit in front of them. But she never like, cause I was thinking back through it, like she didn't give me any like indication that she was like in a rush to do it. It wasn't like the end of the month. It wasn't anything like that. It was, you know, there shouldn't have been any rush, but she definitely rushed. And so, but I should have been on top of that. I should have just reeled it in. And so that would probably be one of the biggest lessons. If you've gone through everything, if you ever just take care of the enrollment, never just leave it for okay, because there was nothing she was waiting on either. The thing that burned me up is that I wrote her back. I said, hey, you know, I spent all this time with you and was hoping to be your agent. Now I won't be able to be your agent. She was like, she says, I don't need an agent. I am capable of doing these things myself. Don't be offended. It's just business. And I was like, well, you weren't capable of doing it yourself because you took all. You
reached out to me.
You basically used my services and chose for me not to get paid. But anyway, lesson learned. Like, so anytime I have somebody, like I'm like, let's just finish this off. I don't care if I have to go and start the barbecue at 4:00. Like I'm gonna finish it, and I'm gonna make sure that doesn't happen to me again. I think that's a kind of a lesson that we can learn.
I think during that time, right, phone sales, although they were a thing, agents who are both field, like hybrid nowadays, you see a lot of that, and you said that earlier. It wasn't as common of a thing back then, so you were willing to go that extra mile. But I think if you apply that to today, maybe an additional lesson to that is, especially with a Medicare supplement, hey, we can take care of this over the phone, or I'm happy to come out to you and meet with you in person. I personally prefer to meet in person. I think it's good to sit down and go over those things, but if you'd like, we can take care of it over the phone as well, right? And that's all looking back at it now, but I think now when you're listening to us talk about this, maybe make that offer. Sometimes people just like the convenience and they just want to take care of it over the phone and not have to take, an hour or two out of their day to meet with you. So make the ask.
Yeah, and if you're one of those agents who you're like, you know what, I want to go the extra mile. I want to deliver for my client. Like, okay, yeah, why don't you still do the enrollment and then just go back to, and you could say, hey, look, let's do this. I'm still going to come and meet with you, and we'll go over and we'll talk prescription drugs and stuff like that. But let me just go ahead and get this part enrolled, and let me just get it taken care of. And there's a lot of really good salespeople. Like you see that in other businesses, and I think that there's so much in Medicare sales that for the good agents, they're also cautious because they don't want to be that person that's putting any kind of pressure on that senior, right? But realistically, we have to remember that we're still in sales. We should still we should still try to close. We should still try to put ourselves in situations to win.
Yeah, I agree.
So did you have another story you wanted to share real quick before I jump on to my next one?
I've got a few. The one that I'll share next is something that so I guess I'll start by saying you want to make sure that whatever market it is that you're working, understand the plans that are available in that market. And so I'll share a lesson that I learned recently, or actually this is a conversation that I was having with an agent about a particular plan. So there's a carrier here, and I'm speaking to the San Antonio market, which is where a lot of our agents work. So there's a carrier who has a chronic plan here in this market, but historically this chronic plan has not been a very strong plan option for people. So usually as agents, we've kind of known that, and we've never decided to enroll people into that plan. It's just kind of something that we've left on the shelf and never really brought it out and presented it to people. Well, recently this carrier enhance the benefits on this chronic plan, and they really made it appealing to anybody with a chronic condition. One of the big things that we see nowadays is plans that include a benefit where you can buy groceries. It comes with a credit to buy some healthy foods, a healthy foods card. So this carrier added a $50 grocery benefit. We'll call it that, right? They added a $50 grocery benefit to their plan. There was an agent who was out in the field and meeting with somebody who was on another version of this plan. This person has a chronic condition, but they were on a different version. and they're sitting down, and it turns out that their doctor that they have only takes this plan. They only take this carrier. They don't take any other carriers. And this prospect was very happy with their doctor. They didn't want to make any changes. So agent says, well, there's not a whole lot that I can do for you. Let's stay with the plan that you've got. It's a great plan option for you. So let's just leave it. And you kind of walk. And so this agent walked away from that business. So we're having a conversation, about it. How did the appointment go? What happened? Oh, well, it turns out that this person's doctor only takes this carrier, so there wasn't anything that I could do. I just left him on that plan. And so I immediately asked, did they have any chronic conditions? They're like, yeah, they were diabetic. I said, well, why didn't you put them on the chronic plan? That's a good option. They're like, well, that's not a good plan. I said, yes, it is. It is now. It's a great plan option. It includes a $50 grocery benefit, and they enhanced the dental. They lowered some of the copays. Like, it really is a good option for the members. They're like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, I totally missed the boat. I didn't know that this carrier rolled out these benefits and that they enhanced this particular plan. So they missed the boat. Now, luckily, they were able to actually return that call and reschedule that appointment and save it. But what if that person decided not to answer the phone anymore? What if they just weren't able to get a hold of them? So I think the lesson there is understanding the plan, the plans that are available in the market that you're working. So whatever market that you plan on focusing on, especially, we're in the summer now and we're preparing for AEP. Make sure you're showing up to these rollouts and what kind of benefits or what the benefit changes are going to be for whatever particular market it is that you're going to target. So because knowing this information, it allows you to position yourself when you're having a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, real quick, plan to plan movement is something that I'm not a big fan of, just like I'm looking for growth. I'm looking for, in these carriers are looking for growth, and I'm looking to help them. So, but I will tell a quick story, and it involved you actually. So maybe probably around this same plan, or there was a plan that was released, and it was the chronic that was better than the regular street plan. And so I went out, and it was like, man, I don't really write business that much anymore. And I went out and I wrote the regular street plan. And I remember you chatting with the person, and you sent me a text. You're like, hey, heads up, don't write this plan anymore. Like, it's gonna get taken up every single time. And you were like, yeah, I did my spiel. Like, this agent, this agent didn't probably know that it was, and then he's like, didn't know that this was the right plan to put you on now.
They pulled out your card.
They pulled out my card. And you're like, no, but you know what? He doesn't sell that much anymore. So, but he should probably get you moved over to the other one. And then, but it was like this thing where you've got to keep up with it. You've got to know what the right plans are, because, like it or not, and so I know there's probably going to be people who listen to this. Oh, you're just stealing people's business. The reality is, it's just a part of our business, is that people move from one HMO to another within the same carrier all the time. If you look at like the strategy of United Healthcare, if you look at their strategy, they have 3 HMOs and 2 chronic plans. And they do this, and they do it with the understanding that there's going to be movement. And sometimes people want to move, and they know that agents are going to move them. And I think that what they're thinking is, might as well, if they're going to make a move, might as well have them move internal. Yeah. And so, because before, if there was no other option, most agents, like you just said, like, what are you doing? Like, if you're sitting in front of somebody and you're looking for another option, what you're going to do is you're going to say, you're going to basically, if you don't have another option within the carrier, you're going to go and put them on Humana instead, right? You're going to move them, and that's why you mentioned, like, well, this doctor only accepted this one plan. If they didn't, it wouldn't have even been a conversation. You would have just moved them. So it's just movement is part of our business. And even if even if you don't like it as an agent, it's just, unfortunately, it's just part of it, right?
Which is why it's even more important to understand the plans that are available. Because if you, again, I'm going to pick on you now, right? For that same story, had you known that and had you put them on the, quote unquote, right plan, the plan that is the better fit for them. Again, better, we'll say that here amongst agents, but you're not allowed, we can't say that when we're out in the field talking to members. But had you put them on the better plan, you protect your business. It helps you with retention. You check a lot of boxes that help you as an agent if you understand the plans and the options that are available to them. If you don't, and you're not, you're not aware of these benefits that are out there, or these other plans that are out there, then you're leaving, there's a hole there. And when they run into another agent, as an agent, when I'm out meeting with somebody, if they already have a Medicare plan, they came to me because they were looking for something better. And so my job is to sit with them and uncover as much information that I can to see if there is something that makes more sense for them. And in this case, I was able to uncover that the chronic plan was the right fit for them as opposed to that regular plan that you put them on. So it was, it turned into a sale for me. Again, it's just the nature of the beast, and that's what this business is. But had you already put them on the right plan, maybe I would have walked away from that appointment and said, hey, you're on a great plan. It's the right option for you. Stay with it. And I don't walk away with the sale, and you get to keep your business.
Right. Yeah. There's kind of just like a side note of that. I do know that there are some agents who are like, man, if they already have an agent, don't work with them. The reality is that everybody's had an agent. In order to enroll, everyone was enrolled by someone. Someone is getting paid perpetually for that client. And so you have to remember that this is sales. Now, there are a lot of agents, there are certain agents who I know that they're friends, even though they're at competitors and stuff, that you never, they're people that I would never touch their client. Be like, hey, you got a client. This was your client walked into my office today, and I'm gonna immediately tell them,
send them back.
Hey, this is your agent. You need to. I might even call them for you. That kind of thing. But the great majority, there's gonna be plan-to-plan movement. We just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Do a better job taking care of your clients.
And we touched on that. That point that you just made. I think that's great. And we talked about it. Was it last episode or two episodes ago, where we talked about having those relationships with your competitors. It's helpful. It's healthy for you and your competitors.
Yeah. Hey, so let's you know what, we're gonna get to a stopping point right here, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back and we're gonna just make this a 2-part episode. I feel like we're getting a lot of really good information here, and I don't want to just cut it short and kind of sell our listeners short. Let's keep it going. So this will be a 2-part episode.